We have lunch. All right. I'd like to welcome everyone to the June 26, 2024 meeting of the Calaveras County Water District Board of Directors. Would you all please rise and join with me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Rebecca, would you please call the roll?
Okay, Director Cicada.
Here.
Director Davidson.
Yes.
Director Rademan.
Here.
Director Underhill.
Here.
President Thomas.
I am here. All right, going on to item 2, public comment. At this time, we, as usual, we have public comment availability. Each person can come and speak on something that's not on the agenda for no more than 3 minutes. And do we have anybody online or here? Oh, no. Nope. All right, let's move on to the consent agenda. We have 3A, report on the monthly investment transactions for May 2024. And we have 3B, adoption of fiscal year 24-25 district pay schedule for CalPERS.
Move for acceptance. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I'll just do all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and none opposed, so that consent calendar is approved. All right, moving on to public hearings. We have annual standby assessment fees for Indian Rock Vineyards, West Point Improvement District, Ebbets Pass Improvement District. The previous Indian Rock was for sewer, the West Point Improvement District was for water, Ebbets Pass Improvement District for water, Jenny Lynn Improvement District 6, Copper Cove Improvement District 7, including Copperopolis Town Site, all for water, and Saddle Creek Subdivision Improvement District for water, Copper Cove La Cantina Improvement District 8S for sewer. So Jeff, can you explain to us what annual standby assessment fees are all about?
Yes, they should just be adopted right now.
And they do have to be adopted separately,
Okay.
each individual, so I apologize for that.
Well, I think it's worth mentioning that these have not changed in a number of years. We
Correct.
routinely approve them, not
And
controversial.
I did have a little something extra.
Sure.
So
Spice it up a little bit.
I'm gonna make it very quick. There's a PowerPoint presentation that we're trying to get here. The assessment fees are just a regular event that we do. We go through and adopt them on an annual basis. President Thomas went through and identified the 7 individual assessment districts, both water and sewer, but there's been some question about why we actually do assessment districts. I'm sorry, this isn't. Oh, okay. And this comes under, and it's in the staff report, it comes under the Uniform Standby Charge Procedures, Government Code 54984. It just allows local governments to provide water and wastewater service to adopt standby fees in connection with the provisions for services. What does the standby fee do? It helps ensure adequate water and sewer service be available to that parcel when needed, or to develop property to help finance water and sewer system improvements and other cost expenses to provide water and wastewater. I'm going to go through these slides very quickly. You have them in front of you, I believe. Yes, ma'am.
Can I ask, do you ever report on how much money is in the, in each individual fund?
We budget for them annually. It's about $131,000 in total between them.
And we've been collecting for years.
And we haven't changed the amount for years. Why? Because if we did, we'd have to go back and open it up for a vote. This was all done pre Prop 28, pre-Prop 13. And so in this case for the Indian Rock Vineyards, It was originally adopted in Ordinance 9304 in 1993. It provides finances capital cost or maintenance for sewer and applies to each parcel within Indian Rock Vineyard subdivision to which sewer is available but not receiving service. And that's the same across the board. And that's where we, I can power through these because of they're very similar. The fee was established prior to November 1, 96, so thus it's exempt from Prop 218. That's why we don't increase it. If we did, we'd have to go through that whole process. Same with the West Point Improvement District. This one's for water. It was originally adopted by ordinance in 91, and it's $10 per year per parcel.
So just to make it clear, the reason we don't want to go through the Prop 218 process is because it'll cost us more money than the $130,000 that we collect.
That is true.
Yeah, it's not that we're not trying to hide anything or trying to get away. Because the Prop 218 process would not reduce this price. It could just, it could eliminate an increase. But the cost of the 218 is higher than what we receive in these standby.
That is correct.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
So the money that we receive, the 130,000, does that just go in the operation fund or does it go into CIP? Where is that land?
It goes into the operating budget, but it's separated. The sewer goes into sewer, the sewer standby fees go into Fund 500, the sewer fund, water go into Fund 300, the water fund.
So
And they're used to offset our maintenance costs. But now that we've got any excess that we have, it can transfer over into capital as well.
Thank you.
The Jenny Lynn Improvement District is for water. It is also $10 per year. And it was originally adopted back in resolution back in 1976. The same with Copper Cove Improvement District 7. And that includes the Copperopolis town site. It was also originally adopted by resolution in 76. And in this case, it's to water, which it applies to each parcel within the Copper Cove Improvement District 7 to which water is available and has an improved value of less than $5,000. Some of it is just unimproved. This particular one notes that it's anything less than $5,000 in improvements. And it is also $10 a year. And then Saddle Creek subdivision it's within Copper Cove ID number 7. It's a water standby fee. It's originally adopted in 2001. And it finances water system operating expenses, financial reserves, funding of capital projects. Some of these we expanded the definition for the different improvement districts as they went through and they adopted them, but it's all basically for water or sewer O&M and capital as needed. And finally, Copper Cove Lock and Den Improvement 8S, which is a sewer standby fee, originally adopted in 76. And again, it was established prior to Prop 218, and there is a $10 fee. Now, I asked Kelly to make it a little bit easier to understand, and here is a map of the improvement districts that you see. The one on the right is Ebbets Pass. It has probably the largest number of parcels that this applies to. Down at the very bottom left-hand corner, it's really hard to see. That's where Indian Rock is. And then you can see the overlay of Copper Cove and Jenny Lynn. So this is just gives you a visual of the different improvement districts that we have. And at that point, I can answer any questions and then request that you move for adoption on each one individually.
You gonna have public comment before we
Yeah.
make the motion?
Yes. Any public comment on this item? Go ahead, Jeff.
Yes, sir.
Do we close the public hearing and then vote?
Sounds like somebody wants.
There's somebody on?
Yes.
Oh, okay. If somebody is online wishing to make a comment on this, please go forward.
Yes, thank you. Francisco de la Cruz, Valley Springs. How do we get this $10 a year collected? Is there a bill issued or is an invoice issued or?
It goes on your property tax. It's on the
Gotcha.
property tax rolls, and you
So-
can actually see it along with the other assessments on the property.
Gotcha. So there's no cost to invoice. And there's, how many total accounts are there?
It doesn't have anything to do with the accounts.
No, it's service, it's properties that we do not provide service to.
You mean how many properties are there? How many
Well,
total
just be
properties are affected by this?
131,000 divided by
There's
10.
about 13,000 properties.
Yeah, 13,000 divided by 10 gets you exactly right.
So, wow. Okay. Thank you.
Any further
And
questions?
Thank Kelly for the great maps. I appreciate, it helps bring it to life. Thank you.
Okay, Jeff, you want to take the lead on making a motion for each
Again,
of
we
these?
close the public hearing and then vote.
This is
Okay.
Matt Weber. I don't know if you can hear me.
Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, you close the public hearing and then you vote.
Okay. Public hearing is closed on this.
A move for acceptance of the Indian Rock subdivision sewer standby assessment.
I'll second.
I believe they can do one unified motion for all of them.
Matt, is that true? I'm used to having them done individually.
Yeah, me too.
It seems like we've done it inclusively recently.
If we,
Matt, can we do them all inclusively or do we have to do one at a time?
We've always done it one at a time. Just take them one at a time. Just so we
Okay.
have each one.
Okay, on, Matt, while we have you here, I don't have to, open and close the.
No, no,
public-
no.
Okay, so we can take these one at a time, under a closed, the public hearing is closed, so go ahead, Jeff, for the next
I
one.
did.
Okay,
We have to vote on the first one.
we got a motion and a second.
all right. Would you please call the roll?
Director Cicada,
Yes.
Director Davidson,
Yes.
Director Ratterman,
Yes.
Director Underhill,
Yes.
President Thomas.
Yes.
I move for acceptance of the West Point Improvement District 3 standby assessment.
I'll second that.
Call the roll?
Director Cicada,
Yes.
Director Davidson,
Yes.
Director Ratterman,
Yes.
Director Underhill,
Yes.
President Thomas.
Yes.
Move for acceptance of the Evans Pass Improvement District 5 water.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Would you please call the roll?
Director Cicada,
Yes.
Director Davidson,
Yes.
Director Ratterman,
Yes.
Director Underhill,
Yes.
President Thomas.
Yes.
Move for acceptance of the Jenny Lind Improvement District 6, Copper Cove Improvement District 7, including Copperopolis Town Site water.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Would you please call the roll?
Director Cicada.
Yes.
Director Davidson,
Yes.
Director Ratterman,
Yes.
Director Underhill,
Yes.
President Thomas.
Yes.
Move for acceptance of the Saddle Creek Subdivision Improvement District 7 standby assessment.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. So would you please call the roll?
Director Cicada,
Yes.
Director Davidson,
Yes.
Director Ratterman,
Yes.
Director Underhill,
Yes.
President Thomas.
Yes.
Move for acceptance of the Copper Cove Lock and Ten Improvement District sewer standby assessment.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Would you please call the roll?
Director Cicada,
Yes.
Director Davidson,
Yes.
Director Ratterman,
Yes.
Director Underhill,
Yes.
President Thomas.
Yes. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board.
Okay, let's move on to item 5, new business. We have a presentation of GASB 75 disclosures for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024. And I guess you're back at it.
I am. And we're being joined online by members of GovInvest. I know Roger Burton. Is there anyone else, Roger, that has joined you?
I believe it's just me.
Okay. Roger Burton, he's an actuarial from GovInvest. They are the ones who prepare this report. The district sponsors a single employee, I'll paraphrase some of the staff report, but basically our district sponsors a single employee defined other post-employment benefit plan, OPEB. And that's what you see on the cover of the report. And this provides medical, prescription, drug, dental, and vision coverage for those employees who qualify at retirement. Some of those change, The dental and vision changed in December 31st, 2007. You had to be hired before that date to be eligible for those benefits. Anybody hired January 1st, 2008 or later does not get dental and vision, and I'm one of those. As part of the requirement, especially under GASB requirements, we hire an actuarial to do a valuation. It's done a full valuation is done every 2 years. Then there's interims. And these valuations basically identify our net OPEB liability, our actuarially determined contributions that that we could make into the plan. It talks about, and it's very in-depth. I'm a budget nerd. These accountants and CPAs who do the work on these actuarials, they are way above my level. They, it's a very involved process to take a look at everything, but also to be able to be in compliance with GASB, because these numbers actually flow into our audited financial statements. They're part of our balance sheet. So it's very important to be able to do this. We're very pleased that GovInvest has been able to take care of us for several years now. Now, a couple things that just to note is there are some changes. As you're aware, a couple years ago, we changed the program to allow for new hires. Let me back up a second. Prior to 2 years ago, everybody was in what we called a defined benefit program. Basically, you got benefit after retirement. When your board chose to move in a different direction, provide a new system for new hires, it's a defined contribution. Employees are given X amount of money to go into the retiree health account. However, these employees, because we're part of PEMCA, PERS Medical, they do get a base amount as part of their retiree health program. Right now, it's about $150 a month, and that can change over the years. So those employees that are to get the defined contribution, they are still counted as part of this valuation because there are costs associated as a defined benefit. Not as much as everybody else, but they do have a defined benefit. And so the actuarials go through and take a look at this, figure out, they look at mortality, they look at health costs, age of the individuals, number of years, and factor those in to be able to come up with what they call is their liability. What is the district on the hook for? They also look at how much money we have in our trust fund, along with projecting those out over a 13-year period. They come up with what we can have is what is a net OPEB liability. And it's one of the things that we've noted here in this, it's actually decreased. It went from 8.2 million in 22 down to 5.9 million in 23. We're always looking in arrears. Even though this report is dated June 30th, 24, it's for the prior year because of the look back that they do, similar to our PERS valuations. And why did we have a net decrease in our net OPEB liability? There's better asset performance in our monies that are with PFM and PARS. We got some favorable demographic experience, but that was offset slightly by higher health costs. So health costs have gone up, as you're well aware.
What is higher actual demographic experience? What does that mean?
I'm going to let Roger explain that.
Oh, okay.
And Roger?
Yes.
We have the PowerPoint that you prepared up on the slides screen. Can you see it?
I can see the cover, yes.
Okay. Do you want to share with him so he can advance it, or do you want to advance it as necessary?
I could just ask you to advance it if that's easier.
Okay. Well, I'll hand it over to Roger at this point to go through. He's prepared a PowerPoint to discuss this plan, and then we'll come back afterwards and do a little Q&A. Go ahead, Roger.
Okay, great. So we're going to go over just a few basics, and then we're going to talk about the results of the valuation, and then talk about, I called it an alternate scenario. It's comparing your results now with the results as they would have been if you had not made the most recent change to the benefits. So if you could advance to slide 3 and then 4. So OPEB, what is OPEB? It stands for Other Post-Employment Benefits, and it's health and dental and vision, sometimes life insurance. That doesn't apply here. It's pretty much everything except pensions. All right, go ahead. Next slide. Next slide. Oh, okay. So we value your liability based on the provisions for your benefits. I think there's another. Go ahead and keep moving. We come up with assumptions on what we think the trends are going to be for your healthcare costs. We look at the premiums. That's pretty much it for healthcare assumptions. It's mostly based on your specific benefits and then projecting those forward. Economic assumptions, we have to assign an interest rate to the money. And we call, some of you may be familiar with this, we call that the discount rate because we are projecting backwards with it. So we're discounting with it. It's basically, again, just the time value of money. And then demographic assumptions. So we need to factor in how many people we think are going to, leave the plan or be fired. How many people are going to join the plan? How many people will retire and when? And for the retirees, when they may die. You also have a disability benefit, so we have to factor in the chance that somebody becomes disabled. So the question was asked, what is favorable demographics? A good example of that is if you add new employees to your plan, you're going to increase your liability because you have new employees who you're going to have to cover. That's an unfavorable demographic change. You might add some new employees that are, have like no years of service. They're just joining, and lose some employees that have long-term rates of service who've been there for a long time. And that's the case where you might even have a net gain of employees, but the employees you're bringing on are lower cost because they're younger and don't have those years of service. So that's an example of a positive demographic change. One thing I just wanted to point out, the way I like to think of the liability is it's a snapshot in time. And what we say is your liability is the amount that we calculate you should have in the trust fund if you were to stop the plan that day. It's the amount you would need to pay the benefits that you promised to the employees and the retirees until they all have passed away. So that's the liability is a snapshot in time. And as Jeff mentioned, it's measured a year behind time so that there's time to get this done in time for year end. Otherwise, it's quite a scramble to try to get a June 30th report done shortly after June 30th. Any questions so far?
Nope.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. Let's go ahead to 7. So this is a 3-year look at the values. You can see it's moving backwards in time. So the first column is the most recent. The discount rate, the interest rate that we applied, has gone from 7% down to 6%. And a lower discount rate means a higher liability because you would need more money in the account to meet your goal if it's earning interest at a lower rate. The total OPEB liability is, again, what we say you need to have in your fund to cover all those costs if the plan were to stop as of that date. Whereas the fiduciary net position is your trust fund, it's your assets. So you can see your currently about 66% funded. The net liability is the difference between the two. Back in 21, you were 86.5% funded, but then there was some, poor performance years for everybody. It affected the entire state. So, that plus with some changes in the discount rate and some other changes, your liability went up, your assets went down, so your net liability went up and your funded ratio went down. But we're on track to build back up to 100%. So you'll see it goes from 86.5 to 56.6 to 65.7 right now. So a temporary downturn with an upward trend again. The actuarially determined contribution is the amount that you need to set aside each year into the trust fund to build up to that fully funded percentage. And that is, just want to point out, that is calculated ahead of time, and so it may lag a little bit behind actual experience. Okay, so page 8.
I have a question now, Jeff,
Yeah.
the number, the 1,365,193, the actually, the number, the amount that needs to be set aside this year, have we budgeted that in the budget year that we just?
That amount accepted includes the payroll portion and the contributions that it recommends we make into the trust fund. Our payroll portion was exceeding, I think it was 850,000 and somewhere in that 888,000. We did not budget for the additional contribution to the trust fund, and I'd like to get into that a little bit later as to what our options are.
Okay.
But the bulk of it is the payroll, which is included in the operating budget.
There is $500,000 we're going to talk about and how we get to there.
Yes.
Okay.
But that's a very good question.
Okay, I did want to mention in that that contribution that, yeah, that includes the pay-go cost. So the amount you're actually going to put in cash into the trust is a lot less than that. Okay, so since the prior evaluation, there were a few changes. The normal course of business, I say that because it happens every year. We estimate the benefit payments, and then the actuals come in, and unless we're extremely lucky, they're always going to be slightly different. So you had a slight increase in liability because benefit payments were a little bit lower than expected. When you pay the benefit payments, it lowers your liability. It comes off of them. There were changes in the data, as mentioned, the census and a few other inputs that reduced your liability. So a positive change in the demographics. As mentioned, we updated the healthcare costs, and they were a little bit higher than expected. So that increased the liability. The trend rate turned out to be not as high as expected, so that's a reduction. And then we updated some of the other assumptions, such as mortality and items like that, and that was a reduction in liability. So on the next page, this breaks down some of those changes. So if that was a question for anybody, that's the change there. So you can see that the demographic experience was a large change. So a negative number here is a gain, which means that it's a reduction in your liability. So negative is good in this case. So a $3 million reduction in liability due to the positive changes in the demographics. Positive in regard to your liability, not necessarily for the county. Healthcare costs, an increase of $1.1 million. Assumption changes were about $26,000. The benefit payment difference, $15,000, and then the trend was $345,000. So any questions on that? Okay, if you advance, there should be, yes. So prior year, there was a loss, and You can see the bulk of that was due to the change in the discount rate and the trend. All right, so this is a historical look. On the left side, you can see the assets, that's the lower blue numbers, and then the net liability on top of that. So the total of the two is your total liability. And then on the right side, you can see the funding ratios going back 5 years instead of 3 on that first slide. So you can see that you were on an upward trend. You had a great year in 21 in regard to liability and assets, and then kind of a reset in 22, and then you're building back up to being fully funded. Okay, so yeah, we talked about this before. The actuarially determined contribution. It's determined, you as the district can determine how we calculate this, and we offer guidance. And you're using the approach that was used under GASB 45, the prior standard prior to 2018, which is very, very common. It's to take the service or normal cost, which is the benefits that are earned in the year. So each year you're going to add a little bit for that. And then that net liability, the unfunded liability, you're going to amortize that over a number of years. I think you're currently at like 15 left to go. So you take that unfunded liability and take a payment towards that. And together that's your total employer contribution. But as I mentioned, if you're paying benefits outside of the trust from the general fund, that reduces the amount that you actually have to put into the trust fund. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, so this slide shows. Go ahead.
This is the employer contribution in ADC. If you still want to look at this, go to the next slide. Did you lose them? Did you lose your Roger?
I'm sorry, I had trouble. I had trouble hearing that. Having a little trouble hearing that. Was the question asked and answered, or is there still a question?
No question. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Great. Thanks. All right. So this shows what was actually made in terms of the contribution. So you've mostly been just doing the pay-go amount, which is just the benefits paid, and they're being paid outside of the trust. So that counts as both money in and out of the trust fund at the same time. So in 2020, there was an additional contribution of $563,000, but after that, your benefit payments that have been made have been actually a little bit higher than the ADC. So yeah, that's what the blue line there shows, that like in 21 and 22, the amount of you paid in benefits was actually higher than what we calculated you need to pay. So essentially your trust fund was sitting there untouched, growing through interest and earnings. So when you paid benefits out with the general fund, you're allowing your trust fund to grow more quickly since you're not taking money out of it. 2023, though, no additional contribution was made, so it's a little bit shy of the goal. And I want to point out that under GASB 45 prior to 2018, there was sort of a penalty for not meeting your ADC, but under the new regulation under GASB 75, you're not really penalized for being short in a year as long as you're contributing on a consistent basis. The only thing that happens is if you're consistently short, your trust fund's not going to be as big. It's not going to grow as quickly as if you had fully funded it. There's also some effect on the interest rate that we can use to value it. If you're not contributing at a strong enough pace, we have to use a lower discount rate, which makes your liability larger. So That's the negative there, but there's no like actual penalty for not meeting your ADC. Okay. Alternate scenario. So go ahead to the next one. So here we looked at what the liability would be today if your old benefits were in place. This was the change that Jeff mentioned where new hires are going to the defined contribution plan for the majority of their benefit. So as I mentioned, the liability is a snapshot in time. So it's really only looking at the liability for your existing employees and retirees. And so that's why there's not much change. There's savings in the liability, $577,000. However, if you look at what we call the present value of future benefits, this is your liability for who's in the plan now and who is going to be added and is coming due for benefits. If you look at that, you can see that the plan change saves you an estimated $3.1 million. You can also see the effect on the service cost and the ADC. So both of those are lower as a result of the change. And yeah, that is it. So please let me know if you have any questions.
I just have one head scratcher here. I heard you say earlier that the trust fund would grow through interest and earnings. What's the definition of earnings if it's not interest?
If your trust fund is invested in the stock market, you are getting earnings from increased values and not interest as if it, like you get interest on the bank account portion, the cash portion.
So Jeff Meyer, are we investing these funds in market securities or
yes, and this is something that I wanted to address, but if I'd like to close out any Q&A till we get to that point.
Okay.
Because that's a much more involved discussion.
But bear in mind, we only have 5 minutes.
Yes, sir.
I just have a question. As far as your communication with Roger's concerned, of course, it's done on a monthly basis because you have financials to report to us. But what triggers a call between you as far as our investments are concerned,
Certainly. And I might as well, I think a lot of it now is dealing with investments. So let's go ahead and tackle that. We have our trust fund through PARS, and they actually work with what used to be Highmark Capital. Andrew Brown used to was managing our investments, and we chose a moderately conservative investment strategy, which is basically a 60-40 allocation, which is 60% equity, 40% securities, basically bonds. So it's moderately conservative, and they invest our funds. Highmark Capital was purchased through US Bank, and then US Bank purchased PFM. And so now Highmark Capital is PFM. We still have the same people. It's just they kind of shifted owners. So they are responsible for our investments. Now, Roger did say back in, I think it was 2022, where the stock market took a big plunge. And so we did lose some valuation there. And we're on track, and it's getting, the market is good. And we're getting our investment returns, interest and earnings are better this year. However, as you saw within the presentation, we're still a little short in having enough assets to meet our our liability. Now, he mentioned can you go back? I'm sorry, Rebecca, can you pull the PowerPoint up again, please? Because I want to go back to the slide that showed the changes in discount rate. I think it's like slide 4 or 5.
Page 7, maybe?
I think page 7.
Pardon me?
I think page 7.
7? Okay.
Is that where you went from 6 or 7, 6?
7 to 6,
Yeah,
yeah.
page 7 then I think. That one?
Yes, that's it. What happens with our discount rate, and this is something that happened with PERS too. We have the ability to choose what discount rate we want to use versus PERS. PERS tells us what it's going to be. And the discount rate we had for a number of years is 7%. That's what we anticipated our earnings would be. Well, we weren't earning 6 or 7%. So logically, what you want to do is lower your discount rate to match your anticipated earnings. So it brought the discount rate down to 6, which matched up our moderately conservative approach on how we do our investments. But as you can see, that had a huge impact on it increased our liability. Yes, sir.
I'm just curious, during that same period of time, what did PERS do?
PERS started at 7.5, has been ratcheting down. I think they're at 7%. Roger, do you know where they are if they're under 7% just yet?
No, I haven't looked at the PERS rate this year. But yeah, I think CalPERS is 7 or lower. I'll check while you keep going.
Okay, and that's something they did when we had that huge investment earnings. It triggered a change in the discount rate, and they merged the two. Now for us, it did increase our liability and thus our increased ADC because it's all tied together. Now, one of the things we talked about, and I talked to Roger about this, I reached out to PARS and I reached out to Andrew Brown, who manages our investment. Now, a moderately conservative has that 60-40 mix. If we go to something that's more balanced, say a 50-50 mix, I'm sorry, we're at a 50-50 mix now. If we go 50% equities and 50% securities, fixed annuity or fixed income, that's where we are right now. If we shift it slightly to a balanced process of 60-40, 60 into stocks, 40% into equities, what you get then is a projected higher discount rate we can use, maybe go up to 6.25 or 6.5. If we adjust that discount rate and adjust our types of investment strategy, we can then increase the discount rate back up a little bit, which would lower our liability. Now, is there risk associated with it? In talking to Andrew, the risk is minimal, but I'm not ready to go there. In fact, we actually, if your board would like, I've got them scheduled to come in on July 10th to talk about our PARS investment strategy and how our investments are managed and give us an update on that. And perhaps at that point, we can go in and look at possibly changing our investment strategy, not taking on much more risk, but it will give us the opportunity to lower our net OPEB liability and thus our ADC. And now the key to that is, can PARS/PFM meet that higher projection of a discount rate on their earnings? And that's something I would like them to come in and discuss. So there's multiple ways we can address this deficit, the growing, the unfunded liability. The other option is to leave it the same and start making contributions. We can do a catch-up contribution to bring it all up. And it's about, I believe it's about 475,000. What we would need to add this current year, we could do that. But remember, as Roger said, it's a snapshot in time, so everything's moving. Yes, sir.
Didn't we do exactly that about 4 years ago?
We borrowed. I wasn't here. We actually, I believe, borrowed money from the trust. We took money out to pay for the new benefits because some people opted out of the retiree health, the defined benefit, and decided to go to the defined contribution, and they got paid out for prior service years. So we used some of that money to accomplish that.
I think we did borrow money to bring this up.
Roger?
Yeah, I'm sorry, what was the question?
Oh, I'm sorry, you had your hand up.
Oh, yes. So CalPERS for their pension plan, 2 years ago lowered their discount rate from 7.15% to 6.9%, where it's been for the last 2 years.
Okay. So as Roger said, this is kind of a look back. We don't have to act today. What this does, it gives us an opportunity to look into our options. Two of the options that we have right now are to make either a catch up or make partial payments spread out over the years. If we do nothing, it'll probably catch up within 13 years. As Roger said, this is a long-term view of it.
And who's scheduled to come talk to us at our July 10th meeting?
Andrew Brown.
It'll be on the same subject and we'll get more details.
Yes, it'd be more of the investment strategies. And Ryan Nicasio from Parks will be here as well, probably remotely.
Let's invite them.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. I will finalize that, and they're both available on that date.
Perfect.
All right, Jeff.
Yes, sir. And at this point, this is just a receive and file.
Okay.
Thinking back several years, I think one of one of the multiple values of looking at our monthly disbursements is that several of us were looking at the cost of providing health, the monthly cost of providing health benefits to employees versus retirees.
Mhm.
And they were about equal. Maybe the retirees were slightly higher. And I don't know, do you remember that discussion? How long can we sustain this? Does this make sense? And I think this reduction in the OPEB liability has come about because of that question and pursuing options, because clearly you can't have an organization that's costing you more to provide benefits to people that no longer work here than the people that work here. So anyway, I just want to point out that we did a good job.
Yep.
I think, didn't we?
That's all I have.
Okay. You're not going to answer
You
that
don't want
question?
to.
Well,
Just say
as you can tell, one of the numbers Roger pointed out was a decrease in the future benefits of 3 million.
Mhm.
It helped us.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I believe, Stacy, please correct me if I'm wrong, I believe our health insurance for current employees is like 1.5 million a year, somewhere in there. Yes. So the benefits for current employees is higher, but the benefit that a retiree health person gets is an offset to their PERS PEMCA. And I believe on an individual basis, because I did this for a while, it's around 600 and some dollars for a single person somewhere. Yeah, varies by plan and so forth. So retirees, even though our number is increasing, it's still substantially less than providing the benefit for current employees. But your board did a good thing a number of years ago about changing the benefit. Stacy and I had this discussion many years ago. And while I was gone, this is something she moved forward with. And I think it was a good thing to do.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that report. And we'll look for these people on the 10th.
Thank you.
All right. We have next on the under.
Public comment?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Public comment, the ever elusive public comment.
Yeah,
Now you are.
Oh, good afternoon, board.
Afternoon.
Coleman Copperopolis.
good day.
Just curious, how long have you been working with this company? And how much should they charge for the service?
Yeah.
Started back, Stacy, was it 5 years ago? Yes, it started about 5 years ago. And I believe the valuation is in the neighborhood of $7,000.
Yeah.
Sit somewhere in that neighborhood. I could be wrong. We have several agreements with them.
Roger may know.
We have the labor modeling, cost modeling process that they do for us. And they also do this valuation, plus we have some managed services. So they do multiple things with us.
Okay, so approximately 7,000 annually.
Yes.
All right, any further public comment, questions from anybody online? Nope. All right, can we move forward now to the Aero Fire update?
Good afternoon, directors.
Good afternoon, Damon.
So the district plans to give a comprehensive presentation and update on the fire in the coming weeks. We just haven't had an opportunity to compile all the information and put together that presentation for you as of yet. But I can give you the high points. Just can't say enough great things about our staff. This fire kicked off about 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Monday. So a lot of staff leave work at 3:30. There was never a conversation of whether folks had left or not. Folks returned to work and worked well into the night that night, right alongside CAL FIRE. So just really kind of some high points, and then we can dive in once the presentation is ready to go. You lose power fairly quickly in the area near where the wildfire is taking place. So downtown Copperopolis lost power pretty quickly. I would say by 4 o'clock, power was out. And so the focus of the fire was in Old Town Copperopolis, and we have what's called Copper Tank in that area. So it's about a 500,000 gallon tank. And it's fed from our C tank zone, which has millions of gallons behind it. However, we can only push about 120 gallons a minute through what's called the Reed's Turnpike pump station. And so the focus right out of the gate was to ensure the Reed's Turnpike pump station continued to operate throughout the duration of the fire. There's no standby generator there, the power was out. So step number one is electricians went out and wired up a generator at Reed's Turnpike. And then we made contact with CAL FIRE to let's monitor where you guys pull from. So the dance throughout the duration of the fire was moving the water tender location from the elementary school / Old Town zone over to our C tank zone and back and forth as we would drain tanks down to below 50% capacity. And we would start to get concerned on whether or not we were going to lose the tank. We would ask those folks to move back to the other zone. So the result is no water outages. We did not lose water in any of the tanks, which is a victory for the water system when you're fighting wildfire. So that was great. The Reed's Turnpike pump station continued to operate. Interestingly enough, that Monday morning, actually, we had a meeting in this room with local water purveyors, special districts, and Calaveras OES to discuss coordination efforts associated with emergencies. And so the EOC was opened at 4:30 in the afternoon. And
You mean the morning before the fire started?
that's right, the day of. Yeah. Okay. So we started to have these conversations
Intuitive.
and so really what kind of happens with that meeting is it's going to follow. We have a quarterly utilities coordination meeting where we try to get together with all of the utilities to talk about work efforts and pinch points associated with the disciplines that we're all in. And so we want to follow on with that with an OES coordination meeting with the special districts, namely the water and wastewater folks. And so that's what was happening. And so when I walked into the EOC at the sheriff's office at 5 o'clock that afternoon, it was like, hey guys, long time no see.
It's kind of like Google though. You just think about it and it happens.
Right. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's creepy.
It's
on your screen.
Yeah. So, so other high points, just can't say enough great things about staff. There's brand new OES director, week number 2, did a fabulous job. CAL FIRE did a fabulous job. Within 24 hours, there was an incident command center at the fairgrounds, and some variations on the way things would take place. And during the electrofire, EOC at the sheriff's department, the emergency operations center was at the sheriff's department. For this fire, it shifted to CAL FIRE's incident command, which was really interesting. It was kind of amazing to see thousands of people there within 24 hours and a full operation up and running with the incident report, AKA a newspaper issued every morning. So That was really interesting to see. So within the next couple of weeks, we hope to follow up with a detailed breakdown of kind of the focus, the pinch points. We're going to have an after action review with our staff next Wednesday. So we're going to be able to sit down with our staff and talk about, what we learned and how we can improve and what really worked. And then that will be incorporated into that report. So right now, if you have any questions, yeah, please.
I'm curious about how you mentioned use the word do a little dance. How about the safety of staff when they're out there, like, here trying to keep the water on? Were there other staff close by to where infrastructure was really close to being burned? I mean, how do we know to keep the staff safe, or CAL FIRE will tell them get out or something? How's that? What's that process like?
Yeah, I think your intuition is correct. So CAL FIRE works really closely with our staff, and they'll just flat won't let you go to that location. If you're like, look, I just need to get to this location, turn this piece of equipment on, and then I'm out. They will let you know if you can't do it.
Do they ever escort staff?
They will.
Okay.
Yeah. So and there was definitely some moments during this fire where we, Stacy, Pat, and I were here on Monday, and Kelly G was at the EOC, where we were having those conversations because this fire started to kind of surround Old Town and Town Square and Copper, and we had right around 15 employees working in the midst of the fire.
As this fire was going on, it was still, I'm sorry.
He's next.
His turn.
Oh,
Well, he's always jumping in there.
we'll share.
Go ahead. Arm wrestle.
I'm sorry. As this fire was going on, there was 2 or 3 other fires that broke out in the county at the exact same time. And speaking with you yesterday, you said you're going to be talking, part of your staff training is going to be including taking on 2 fires at the same time, and what you do and how it's handled.
That's
And
absolutely.
that's very interesting and getting ahead of it even further. And
Yeah. So all CCWD staff have participated in incident command system training, which is what is deployed in the Emergency Operations Center. Folks are somewhat familiar with the protocol. We didn't implement it within the operation for this fire. However, kind of it being fresh in our minds, we kind of understood in working with CAL FIRE, because the folks out in the field are also working with a battalion chief, an operations chief, and we're working with liaison officers. So there's kind of this understanding of the hierarchy and how information flows, and that happened almost intuitively, which was great. One thing about that, though, Director Ratterman, is when I went through the Butte fire, my mentor was like, that's a career defining moment. You're not going to have something like that in your career. He was a operations manager for 30 plus years for a water utility, one wildfire. And so I don't know how many FEMA natural disaster events have happened since then. And I think really, truly, it's multiple events at the same time and or additional regional events. So we may, because you're right, that afternoon we had the Aero fire. We had a fire on Feather as the repopulation effort was occurring in Copperopolis. We had a fire outside of Paloma. We had a fire near Moke Hill and one outside of Valley Springs. So all at the same time. And then we had a main break in Evans Pass. Yes.
Did you just turn them off for a little while?
Right. You'd love
Oh,
to.
Jeff is first.
Well, I want to bring something up. You're talking about a report, because as I heard you say, the fire broke out, little, like right around, quitting time.
Yeah.
So our crew had been in the field with their vehicles all day long.
Yes, that's right.
And then, the fire breaks out, and how long after that did power go out?
Within an hour and a half, maybe even an hour.
Okay, so what I want to see is a report that discusses that issue. And I mean, what do they want us to do? Are they going to add, are our guys just going to hang on to the back of the fire trucks?
Right.
I mean,
I've already sent an
people
email.
that aren't, I mean, I'm getting with this whole electric vehicle nonsense.
Right.
And the fact that we need to be in the same category as first responders.
That's right.
We're along side by side with them, doing the exact same work that they need. And we need their recommendation and support to stop this nonsense.
That's right.
And I think we really need to kind of dive into that what if scenario. What if all of our vehicles needed to be charged? How are we supposed to get to to wire those,
Right.
pumps or those generators up. You know,
Yep.
how are we supposed to get to all that stuff? Where were we gonna bring the electric vehicles to support that fire from?
Yeah.
And how much life would they have left in them? You know, and that really was a pretty incredible effort. When you look at the fire area and the proximity to the population, I was really
Yeah.
impressed with how well everybody did on it. You know,
Fabulous.
it could have been an awful disaster, but that was nothing.
Right.
You know, that was less than a tenth of the size of the Butte fire.
That's right.
And we have areas here that we know that could go up much greater than that. And I just think it's a great example for us to start to talk about the nonsense that this electrifying our fleet, we will not be able to serve the community in a disaster.
Yep.
Plain and
Understood.
simple.
Understood. And I've already been in discussions with the CARB working group, Nick Blair at Aqua, who's on multiple different CARB groups with the Air Resources Board.
I mean, even to,
Compelling
if
imagery.
we have the ability, Damon, to log the miles that were traveled that day on those vehicles and to say what what is the capacity of a 2-ton truck,
Right.
mile wise per day, and then the charging after that. I mean, I know it's a lot of work, but if we can come up with some sort of estimate about how much time those vehicles would have had left, if any,
Yeah.
you know, or if they'd have been sitting on a charger, which depending on where we locate the charger, would have been out of power.
We would have had to use a generator to turn on the charger. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All of that. Yeah, no problem. And in the midst of working on that now, right? Because I think one thing, just to real quick on that, AB 1594 is about a paragraph. And what AB 1594 says is water and wastewater utilities can replace an emergency vehicle with a like vehicle, whether it be gas or diesel. And I think the CARB Air Resources Board is conflating the language in that into their clean fleets regulation and trying to blend those two and say, well, we'll decide when you can replace this vehicle with an emergency vehicle. And this carries home the point. A fire directly carries home the point. So I'm going to keep working on that from that angle. Yep.
You had a question?
Well, do you need anything? You know,
Thank you. No, currently we're okay. Currently we're okay. Yeah, appreciate
Thank
it.
you, cards, anything like that.
Oh, the guys
He's really
always
good.
love gestures of goodwill. I mean, I can, we're gonna get them all in here too. I think it's important that they all get an opportunity to sit here when we provide the presentation.
that was a
Yeah,
serious
but
question.
I'm sure, pizza is always good, candy, yeah.
Next.
How about some, those tickets for the gold coins?
Oh, the gold bullion, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
Well, do you remember talking to me when you were on your way to wherever you were going? I said, get a hold of Wig Crowhop or Crowfoot or whatever his name is, and get a hold of his boss. Cardboard works for Gavin Newsom.
That's right.
They're talking to the cardboard. I have long believed it does no good. It's like talking to the door, talking to the wall. Newsom showed up at the last Aqua conference. Well, let's invite him here.
Oh, that would be.
Just send an engraved invitation. Come on, Gavin.
Gotta give 'em a
I
tour of
would
your-
love to give Gavin a tour of the
Well,
fire burn scar and copper.
Doesn't it start with an appeal? I mean, a letter signed by the.
It is the cardboard. I've been on 2 different phone calls, conference calls with through Mountain Counties. One with CARB staff and one with the CARB board. CARB staff gets it. I mean, they're taking notes and they will get this information to our board, and Damon can back this up. CARB board is staunch. It seems to be
Let me bring up
in their
another
ways.
scenario that could very easily happen. School was not in session that day, right?
Right.
Okay, so now we go to electric buses, right? Then they go and do their pickup. They have to stay all day and charge, right? And they may or may not have been charged to take children out of that classroom or to get them to safety because they have to comply with this law. So we would have had traffic. Think of the traffic that we would have had, parents trying to go and pick up their kids from that elementary school. I mean, it just confounds me that people don't look at the big picture up here as to how bad it could be because of this nonsense, this electric vehicle
And the
nonsense.
Chargers were at Old Town Copperopolis. right? That's where the chargers happen to be
Yeah.
located.
Yes.
To cover up.
Yeah,
Well,
there-
that-
there are-
But
And
that's,
where the fire was.
We're gonna get some Tesla 2-ton CCWD work trucks,
yeah.
and we could deploy
You're
them.
not gonna get them through me.
Yeah, so
Well, everybody's, I don't know, laughing it up about that, but
I'm not
are,
laughing. I mean,
are you
it's
suggesting that cardboard works independent of Newsom's thumbprint, or, I mean, they're
No, I didn't say
political.
anything about that. I just
they're-
said how ridiculous their focus on carbon is. And the solution is towing a diesel, a diesel.
Right.
That's the way to overcome it in this situation. We don't have chargers there. The grid doesn't handle it.
right.
We're being required to have these vehicles. Jeff's point, the vehicles would have been used all day long, probably down in charging, nowhere to charge them. We don't have portable chargers. We'd be delivering diesel generators to the back of each one of those trucks
Yeah,
to haul around in the field to be running while they're operating.
yeah.
Just to go somewhere.
A little bobtail fuel truck
Yeah.
going through the fire thing, filling all our stuff up.
Ex-
Sounds like a good idea.
Right, great idea. And because moreover, when the power was restored, it was bad power. So our 3-phase equipment was not operating effectively.
What's
Legs,
that?
legs were,
So-
not all 3 phases of power were coming through transformers correctly.
Oh.
Transformers were damaged at our locations, which was a pinch point for us just supplying water through a pump. So all of those things come into play with this discussion. We almost had 2 CARB members for a tour about a year and a
Wow.
half ago. They canceled the day
Staff
before.
or board? Really?
Board members. So we're going to continue to work on that. We'll try to get the governor. I think that would be great.
Just a tour of this.
Very compelling. I mean,
Yeah.
the elementary school's on Main Street. That fire burned all around that elementary school.
I haven't heard from the school district. I'm trying to kind of stay out of it because they got their own hot water. I get it enough on my own. But, how are they gonna comply with this? They're already cutting bus routes, down to nothing. And then now they're gonna have to go out and spend however much possibly could be on buses. How are they gonna comply with this? And, and what's their emergency response
Right,
in fire,
right.
I was told that they have to buy 2 buses for each route. Because they charge one up for the morning delivery and they have another one sitting there for the afternoon delivery. or
Right, but
afternoon
they
pickup.
can't make the deliveries now.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I look forward to being able to give you guys a really detailed, I think it's going to be a compelling, our folks took some really compelling video.
We're looking
some
forward
images.
to it as well.
Yeah.
but getting back to what I said, Gavin Newsom showed up at Aqua and he said something that surprised me. He said, we got to build Sites Reservoir. Now, you wouldn't have heard that come out of his mouth 2 years ago.
Right.
If something, he had an epiphany and he said, we gotta build that. Well, if we could just get him here and without anybody else around, just you and Gavin riding around and,
love it.
look at the statistics here, like Jeff was talking about. You don't think you could get him here?
We'll work on
I
it.
don't think so. Not a big enough population base, Russ, I'm sorry to say.
He's moving back to the Bay, I believe, right? So.
Well, he's moving to Marin County, but
Right.
anyway, I think that there would be value in delivering an invitation and then advertise the fact that he has been invited. And if he doesn't show up, we can say, you were invited and you didn't come. And I don't know, listen to me on that. Do it for me, or
Understood.
wait till Michael comes back and coordinate through him. But it needs to be done, it really does.
When's the last time we updated our emergency? Don't we have to update that every?
The emergency response plan for the treatment facilities are updated usually annually. It's based on the.
No, it was done.
No, but there's a bigger thing.
The vulnerability, risk and resilience assessments, which are
Yeah.
part of the urban water management
Yeah.
plan, is every 5 years.
Okay.
Yep.
And where are we at that?
That, we're in year 2, I think, of the plan. 2 years ago, the plan was updated. Yep.
John, Coleman, don't you have the back number for Gavin's office? So,
Yeah.
do you? Good, okay.
There we go.
Uh-uh.
We've got the inside track.
Don't fool around with the office. Go,
Tell him I want to talk to him.
yeah.
Well, anyway,
Thank you, Damon.
congratulations to the crew, because I mean,
Yeah.
clearly,
Absolutely.
that was a great triumph over there. That could have been awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. And I don't want to spoil it, but yes, I will convey that and I look forward to the presentation.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Mm. Yes, come on up, come on up.
As a resident of Copperopolis, Ralph Goldman again, I was evacuated Monday afternoon for 3 days.
Oh,
I appreciate all the work done by all our first responders, including my friends at the water district, because I know how hard it is to keep these lines intact. I know what a collapsed line will do. I know what a hydrant without water pressure will do. And for them to keep this service up was just immaculate. So kudos to your team. You got a very good team. You
Yeah.
stand on some big shoulders.
Mhm,
They support you.
mhm.
They're your backbone. Never forget it. The question here that caught my attention. Reed's Turnpike Pump Station. So the water flow from one tank to the other was slowing down by the antiquated pump station. Okay. So you're only able to push 120 gallons through? With a redesigned pump station that maybe you've seen some schematics, how much water do you think you could get through on a redesigned pump? Okay, why the hell are we letting Tom Hicks and CV get away from repairing this and upgrading it? They've been working on it between them and Castle and Cook for 20 years. And just to find out that we couldn't supply a fire because of 20 years of jerking off, excuse my language, between developer, agency, ownership. Let's get it fixed. President Thomas, you know Tom Hicks,
Mhm.
you know that group, you know him very well. You tell him, get off the ball. You've got a great example right here.
Yeah.
And lastly, get off this electrical stuff. You're wasting my time here. Just as much as some don't like questions and answers, you guys go off in different directions with your electric vehicles. Get that done. Get that taken care of. Let's get some legislation right. Let's make you right up there with first responders where you do belong. But gosh darn it, I know, Director Davidson, you don't care for electric. I know most of you don't care for electric. But come on, enough's enough. We know where you stand. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ralph. Damon, I have a question for you. On a normal days of making water at the Copper Cove Water Treatment, what do we make, 1 million gallons a day there or something?
Yeah, so during the duration of the fire, we made a little over 6 million gallons of water.
For the whole
so
duration.
Yeah, they're working to understand, because the community was evacuated, like Ralph said.
Yeah.
So we would say a conservative estimate is around 2 million gallons of water was used to fight that fire, but it's probably, once we kind of really dial in and look at the trends, the flow rates, closer to 3. From our system. And bear in mind, they were dipping water out of any pond, lake, anywhere.
puddle,
Right,
anywhere.
exactly.
Yeah, I could, from my house, I could see the helicopters getting their bags and flying off and.
Right.
Did they get any out of your pool?
Yeah. No, no, my wannabe pool. But the thing that was most impressive was those DC-10s circling and dropping their borate loads.
Yeah.
That's, it was pretty, they hit it pretty hard,
Yes.
thankfully.
It did.
Okay, thanks for that, Damon.
Thank you.
Any other
Thanks.
comments? Yes, online.
Yes.
Speak-
Yes, sir. Francisco, thank you, Damon. As usual, an excellent report, and I look forward to your video presentation. Hopefully, you'll be able to post it on a CCWD specific YouTube channel for the rest of the community to learn about how they are dependent on your team doing an excellent job. So thank you from me.
Thank you,
Also,
Francisco.
I wanted to hear about this electrification. I know you all are not in favor of it, but the last time you guys talked about it, I heard some talk about getting together with the rest of the public agencies that are in the same boat. I'm over here sitting as a taxpayer thinking, how am I going to finance a sheriff's department, a school district, my water agencies? How am I going to pay for all of these? Because it's all going to settle, it's all going to settle on the taxpayer for these public agencies. Has anybody figured out what the total load on the county is going to be? The total dollar amount that it's going to take to electrify all your all's fleets?
Oh, Francisco, if you'll let me, I mean, I totally agree with that, and that's something I'm, I don't, I mean, I'm sorry I'm offending members of the audience, but this is one of the most important things financially and safety wise that Calaveras County is addressing countywide, every agency. I know you've listened, that here in San Andreas, we've got CCWD, CPUD, we've got the high school, we've got the elementary school, we've got the sheriff's department, we've got the courts, we've got the county vehicles, all that are mandated to go to electric vehicles, start purchasing in 2027. The power doesn't exist. We're under a mandate. I mean, this is really something I think is very, very important. I mean, we all take an oath here to defend and protect the Constitution of California, United States. This is a law that I will not be able to say yes to. I won't be able to do it. I don't know, maybe I'll have to resign or whatever, but I just can't do it, knowing what a disaster it is. I mean, so the answer is I'm hoping when we do maybe we can expand the communication. I'm actually meeting with Supervisor Tuffanelli and Chief Dickinson and some others regarding a couple of issues. One is that the engineering committee meeting that we're going to have shortly, talking about the OES rating, just to make sure that everyone's on the same page and that we're accumulating all the data we need to make sure that we are judged correctly and know how to improve that. But I'm going to at that point also expand it to and through probably some of the committees that Damon sits on, we need to get that countywide assessment of the needs for this county, because the cost, you're right, Francisco, it is going to be astronomical. It's going to be, I can't even fathom how much it'll cost just our district. Anyway, it is important.
Just think about the livability factor. Who's going to want to live in a county that it costs them 4 to 5 times more than it does in any other place, just because of the way you have to distribute the cost on a very small population?
Absolutely.
How do we do? What do you want us to do out here? I'm meeting with Mr. Toffanelli on another matter later in the week. What can we do out here to lend support to the various public agencies, other than contact our representatives and say, stand shoulder to shoulder and say, we ain't doing this. We can't afford it.
When is your next countywide?
So that would be in August. We're going to have a quarterly utilities coordination in August.
So can we at least try to add that to the agenda there, see if we can rustle up a uniform assessment and ask all the special districts what they think that their responsibility is going to be, and then try to get that coordinated?
Yes, absolutely. Yep, we can work on that.
How about Mr. President, Mountain Counties?
And to answer a little bit of your question, Francisco, Mountain Counties also already and the Association of California Water Agencies already have working groups that are deep in the weeds with CARB and with statewide. This is affecting everybody in this whole state. This is a statewide issue, what CARB is doing. And we have to continue talking about this. This is the most ridiculous thing to take off of our agenda. It is so worrisome, and as pointed out by Mr. De La Cruz, that this is for sure going to cost us, and it's not just the special districts. It is the water, the county, the school district,
cities,
and the economy of scale. Yet the people aren't here to pay for it. It is a huge issue for us. It's going to cause our budget to go crazy.
And it will not work.
No,
Exactly.
there's got to be an off ramp to this whole crazy situation. And if we don't talk about it and we don't bring it to everyone's attention, but these working groups are the Mountain Counties is a 13 county regional group that's working on it. We have lobbyists. We're working in, and this subject comes up on every single time we get together. Aqua is the same thing. They have guys that are digging into the weeds big time on this.
Nobody
It
spent
is-
more time than Damon.
No, and Damon's Damon has the stories, the details, which is what all these groups are looking for, is come forward with present us with, and that's what the CARB group asked for the day we spoke with them. We need details. They need to get into the weeds and understand why we need the same carve out that fire departments and police departments have, and that why they don't have to have electric vehicles.
Right.
There is a good reasoning behind this, and hopefully hopefully it is resolved
Yep.
before 2027. That's just crawling very near
It's
to it.
really close. Yep.
Francisco, did that conclude your comment?
One last thing. Unfortunately, my peers or compatriots are out in the hoods. You know, this is not a topic high on their discussion list, which is surprising because it's as bad as what I read. You know, next door, the hot topic is, oh, I'm getting canceled. Oh, I'm not renewed. Oh, I'm not getting insurance. So that's pretty hot. But hardly anybody is talking about, do you know what they're going to do to us when we have to electrify all these goddamn vehicles? How do we get that out
Yeah.
there? Can Kelly do anything on his postings to say, hey, what do you know about what we're going to have to do to electrify here? Just to get the attention of the folks there, because it's not there now.
I think we can include a kind of a button in the operations, kind of apropos the next conversation on the website that basically gives a primer on clean fleets for folks. Yeah, we can definitely start ringing that bell.
But it needs to
Thank
be,
you, sir. I'm done.
Yep.
Thank you.
it needs to be rung in 13 counties. So, Ralph, I'm going to let you come up one more time.
Just for the exercise.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I've calmed down a bit. Apologize for that little display. Okay. When we got gas cars, we had to figure out fuel lines. We had to figure out gas pumps. We had to figure out, this ain't gonna work. I've got a horse and carriage. I feed it, it craps, I don't have to worry about it. Right now, we're at a point where we're in another transition, and it's painful. But I also hope that you look at the long run. I sincerely hope you can get up there with the fire where we don't even have to worry about this. But I hope when you put your study together, you work in the discounts and federal rebates that you can work out, and also the maintenance savings. There's no oil, there's no engine, there's no tune-up. Just over the years, how much you would save on automobile maintenance or truck maintenance. But that's farther in the future. Right now, we're at a very tough point. And I'm with you, Director Davidson. It's not a good spot to be in. And you guys got to do as much as you can to get up there to be essential fire people. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Does that conclude your comments? Nobody online? Okay. Thank you, Damon, for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before you step away, I want to give a plug for your the presentation that you and Kelly put together for the Nextdoor channel about Copperopolis conserved water.
Oh, yeah, right.
If you haven't seen that, you ought to see it. He looked like a
Hollywood production,
a
right?
Walter Cronkite moment. It was
Nice.
and it was very comparable in quality and message to the PG&E stuff that they're doing. You know, and they're, you know, they have this drone coming down, a couple of people putting some wires together and stuff.
Thank you. Thanks to Kelly.
Kelly, did
Kelly,
your agent and production company help him with that?
No, but it was,
The other side of the light.
Tech.
I watched it twice just to make sure that I got the whole message. So anyway,
Thank you.
good job. All right, we have another thing here, and we're moving through here like at lightning speed. Kelly, we have an updated website presentation here.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
I would first like to thank the board for support in moving forward with this website. I'm confident that it was the right decision. Very pleased with the product we have, and I'm really proud to present that it's live now. It did go live on June 17th, 2024, the same day that the fire started, actually. And 30 days ahead of schedule. When they first gave us the schedule, we were looking at about 90 days. We got it live in 60. So really proud of that. Being that the fire started that day, I was certainly taking advantage of the instant announcements that I can do on the front page. There's that red bar on the top. I can do announcements that might be a blue color that matches the website, which is just a general announcement, or I can, click on a little toggle and it says emergency and it gives you a nice red, bright, noticeable marker there, and I can lead to more information. And really, since we launched the website, I've utilized that feature probably 5 times, be it the please conserve water for the fire. We had a slight hiccup with our billing software where it was intermittently down for a few hours. So I was able to put out a notice there to let people know. We had a fire hydrant replaced last night during the night that was damaged during the fire. So I was able to put out a notification for that as well. And what's the third? There's one more. What am I missing? Perhaps it was the main army. Yeah. So anyways, it's a really great feature. As you can see on mobile, it comes up nice and red there too. It's that's the first thing you're going to see. There is a chance to dismiss it if you don't want it clogging up your screen, but that gives that, our customers or whomever is looking for that information.
Are these announcements on the mobile, is that like text or through?
This particular, so I'll get to that. This particular one, it just shows it red. So if you were to go to ccwd.org, right there on the right, that's a screenshot. That's my screenshot there. And that's what's going to come up when you go to ccwd.org. So if some folks are experiencing water issues, or for instance, the billing software might have a slight hiccup and they go to our website, that's going to be front and center. And I can make that clickable where I can follow that up with more information about whatever situation it might be. But it was really great we just launched it, and then I got to really utilize that feature right off the bat. Our website integrates really nicely with social media. One thing I really like about it is I can create whatever I'm trying to communicate. For instance, the fire hydrant that they were replacing last night, I can share that directly to Facebook. And then as folks click on Facebook, it brings us right back to our website with all that information, any information we like. And one thing I didn't realize that I would like so much about that is when it brings them back to our website, the join our mailing list, which I'll talk about here on the next slide, is right front and center. So it might hopefully encourage folks to notice that little tab, click it, give us their email address, and then I can reach out that way too. Because with that join our mailing list, there's several different options. And again, it's going to show up front and center on every page. It's always going to be there. It doesn't disappear. It's always going to be visible. And I can do numerous items that I want. For instance, right now we do the board agendas. Hopefully I'll be getting a newsletter out soon. We can do notifications. And so we've had about 3 people sign up so far. So for instance, with the fire hydrant the other night, I was able to send out an email to those 3 folks. The list is there. It's really easy for me to just pass on the information. So I'm looking forward to that feature, and hopefully more people sign up for that.
Will you be able to join our email website to our billing customers? Somehow tell them to sign up? Is it separate? It's with their we have our customers on our portal, not the website, that do email. Can we get those customers to get your notifications via the website?
I'll check into that, link to our portal perhaps. I'll look into that. It's a good idea.
Well, you said you sent out 3 notifications, right, to those 3 signed up. So this is separate from our billing notification. So you use the billing notification to let them know about fire and stuff.
Yeah, I
Right?
just signed
So
up right
maybe-
now.
I was going to.
No,
because
the
I haven't
billing,
enough
the
yet.
billing notification is different. I mean,
That
once,
quick.
once you click on billing on our website, it takes you to a different website. And I'm not as familiar with what capabilities we have on the billing. I will definitely work with Kelly on that. And if there's another way, I like that idea because I'm trying to be strategic with the website to make it really easy. For instance, and I'll talk about it here in a moment, the customer portal. I don't just have one tab for that customer portal. I try to put it through several different places so people don't, as they're navigating through it, they might miss it here, but I'm going to try to
Catch it there.
catch it here. So that's a great idea. And anything that I can do or we can do to push people to sign up for that, I think is really cool. And again, it's really simple for me now. You know, as Pat gave me the information just yesterday for the hydrant, or that must have been a couple days ago now. All the days are blending, you know.
Well,
But it was just very, very efficient and simple for me to push that out.
having the one source for notifications to your customers, I think would be the goal, not, okay, I did from the website, customers signed up. Now I gotta go to the billing portal, email customers and send them one, or however you do that, I don't know.
Right.
But I would think the goal would be to have a one with most of our customers,
Right.
if at all possible.
And one thing that I'm just absolutely loving about this platform is how much we can customize it and how simple it is. For example, I just got back from the CSDA conference and Streamline was there. And the CEO himself, Matt Clemens, sat down with me and made some adjustments on the fly. For instance, there's a few things that I didn't really care for with how the words were on mobile. I said, this is driving me crazy. This word needs to be here. And right away, he fixed it. So that was really nice. I'm really pleased with Streamline's service. They've been really great to work with, very responsive, very fast. And as we might want to add different mailing lists, and I think that's some of the things we could discuss in the External Relations Committee, and we can fine tune that. So really simple to add another mailer or something, you know, but I do want to encourage folks to get on that mailing list so we can, another way, and that was the result really from our survey, our communication survey. People did prefer to get email notifications.
Well, I just signed up too, so did Scott, so we'll get the rest of the board members. Jeff's
Awesome.
working on it.
Well-
Yeah, very cool. Awesome. Thanks, Kelly.
And right now there's a communication survey on there as well. You can get that on the top. As you go to our website, it's going to be there all the time. It's currently the existing communication survey that we put out before, so that's what I'm utilizing now. I know there's been a lot of talk about shifting it more towards a satisfaction survey. Again, I think that's a topic that we've gone through in the External Relations Committee. So glad to take any new considerations in and change that if need be. But for now, it's a communication survey and we've gotten a few folks filling it out. And again, that's always there. It's right by the contact us. You can't miss it. So you can click on
There
that,
it is.
do a survey real quick and we'll get notifications. The next thing I'm really proud of, and I think is a good thing, is the district transparency page. We have a specific page now just for transparency, which has all the documents that you might want to find in a very easy place. You can get it in 2 different locations, down there in the lower right as a footer menu down there, and also in the About Us. In that,
Isn't that a thumb screw?
that's a little wraparound.
Little torture device?
Yeah, when I was designing kind of the feel of the website, the first one I had all the beautiful infrastructure we have, such as McKay's and some of our reservoirs, which don't get me wrong, I love. And at the last minute, I kind of went to a more of an infrastructure tone. So if you stay on the website long enough, that'll switch. There's several different ones. There's going to be some nice shots of a fire hydrant or for some of our facilities. So I went a little more infrastructure based, and I like the feel of it. But again, I can customize that as I see fit. But right now, I like to show. I like that stuff, and I think it's pretty great.
You know, I'm on my phone, you know, going online. Do we have an app that we can download for CCWD? Because they don't. Yeah, because sometimes the mobiles don't quite work as well. Sometimes you need your own app.
We don't have an app, but while I was designing this, I had my phone right next, and every time I made a change, I would look at it on the mobile, and I'm trying to make it look just as pleasing and easy to use on mobile. And so far, there's a few quirks that I'm working through, and that's what was nice about working with Mac the other day, the CEO for Streamline. I was able to tell him I like it on the web but I don't like it on the mobile.
Yeah,
So how can we fix that? And I'll show you in a moment here how I'll get.
Keep
to the
going.
part here. So again, this district transparency, I think is a great thing too. So I encourage you guys all to take a look at that. Customer portal. When I was speaking earlier about trying to make it easy for folks to get to that portal or anything else, I'm trying to be really strategic, and it's in different places. So it's just simpler to find. And so open to suggestions on that as you guys start going through this website. If you say, hey, this seems kind of awkward, why is this there? Let me know and I can make those changes. I'm looking forward to as many eyes on it as possible, and we can make this thing really great. I want to talk a little bit about the back-end analytics that I get to see. Nobody else gets to see this except for me, but also I'll share a few of the clips, and I think it's really great. We have real-time compliance monitoring, which is great. These ones right now are just what's required from the state, so I can see everything from all the requirements, Brown Act violation, not violations, but Brown Act information and communication. So we're completely compliant. This is always monitoring it. And this is a big deal. It doesn't seem like a big deal with this lackluster slide, but it is a big deal to make sure that we're completely compliant. Same thing with accessibility. Streamline gave a fantastic presentation yesterday about accessibility and really how they are cracking down on this. This is a real thing, and they will start really. They're going to be cracking down on this. So, as you can see, those three bars on the right, one is April, the red is May, the far right green is June. In May, we had some non-compliance, but we were still building it, and luckily I get to see this really simply. It'll tell me if a picture is out of compliance. It'll tell me if a file is out of compliance. And another thing that's interesting that you might not think of is contrast. There's certain contrasts that you have to have. So folks with, who can't see so well can see that. And I've done a few things where it'll tell me this page needs a little work. And so they made it simple for me to make those changes, which I really like. So again, as you can see, I ran this report just this afternoon. We're 100%, our accessibility is perfect at the moment. So that's great. And again, this is a real thing where we could be fined quite a bit for this.
Would you get a notice via email or something that says, hey, you better check something, or do you have to be on your website there and look at your alerts and alert something out?
Right. My email is on it. So if somebody was to have a problem or if somebody has issues, they could directly email me.
But if you were out of compliance though, on, for instance, a picture, would you get an email saying, hey, check your website?
That's a good question. I haven't experienced that yet. I'm checking this thing constantly.
Who is they? Who would that email come from? Who is it that's
well, I'm just saying, like, see where it says 100% and stuff.
If someone, let's say someone.
No, is it a state agency?
No, anybody who would have issues with our accessibility. It could be a citizen who can make a complaint, and we would know.
But it's streamlined programming here that tells you when something's not in compliance. Right. So I'm just wondering, do you have to go check your compliance daily, or would the programming send you an email telling you to check, give you an alert, that something's off kilter or something?
Well, that's a great question. I'm certainly going to look into that.
We're going to find out, yeah.
Because again, every time I made any changes, I'm checking this thing. I'm just making sure. Right. And we've had very little. What's really nice too, like a big deal is images. You wouldn't think about it, but every time we load an image, it has to have some sort of text. Yep. And there is AI that's running in the background that can kind of help that. And a funny story is we noticed the alt text, which it's called alt text, and the alt text for Director Ratterman said, gentleman in a suit. So when we uploaded the picture of you in your suit looking all dapper, the AI said, gentleman in a suit. I believe that's what it said. So
that just tells you how flawed AI.
Right.
That's pretty accurate stuff.
So Rebecca and I changed it. Really have to really say.
Not a gentleman.
But that suffices. If we were to upload that video and there was no alt text, that would show show out of compliance, because someone who can't visualize the picture needs to know what the picture is of. So that makes it really easy. In our last website, we had to do that all manually. Every time we loaded the picture, anytime we did anything, we had to give just a really brief explanation. So this is a nice step that saves quite a bit of time.
But Cindy, to answer your question on that a little bit, the minute you do something on the website, as you're doing it, it says, it tells you right there, you need to correct something. So an email really isn't necessary because you're in there doing it while it's telling you.
So a picture that's been up there for 3 months shouldn't change unless you've done it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kelly,
Go ahead.
if I can interrupt you for just 1 second, I have a kind of sudden need to leave here to go to a family function. So I have to leave here in about 2 minutes. Director Underhill will be taking over the conclusion of the meeting. I apologize for leaving before you're finished, but you got to go. You got to go.
I understand.
Okay. Thank you all for being here. And Director Ratterman, under the board reports, can you talk a little bit about what we found in Jenny Lynn yesterday and the proposal for ad hoc agenda item in a future
Okay.
meeting? Okay. All right. I'll see you next time.
See you later. Turn your mic off.
So what you see here, apologize, I didn't realize it'd be so small and hard to read. I was able to see it on my screen, which I was standing about 2 feet from, so different perspective here. But what you see here is the different uses, and it even gives me how many people have used the website in the last 30 minutes, and it's in real time. So I can have this on in the background and watch it. And this here also tells me the far right is on the web, which is on your desktop. The middle that says 0 there, that's a tablet, and the 4 on the left is mobile. So I can even see what type of device folks are utilizing our website, which I think is pretty cool as well. And a total. Again, I'm sorry you can't see it, but I think we're at 2.8 thousand has visited our website since we launched it on the 17th. So
Nice.
Yeah, I was on there this morning. I did notice.
I
the
go on there.
difference.
again, apologize for the small text, but those charts down below show me how many folks are visiting what page in particular. And so, for instance, our billing is the most, job opportunities is quite a big, those are kind of the top 2. But what I'm really looking forward to is as this thing grows, I can see where the attention is, what people want to see. And then that also might help me with the design to make things a little bit simpler. So this is only really started kicking in since we started it. So the data is kind of new and fresh, but this will be a really useful tool for myself running this in the background. And so that was just some of the main highlights. I'm also set up here to go through it right now and show you guys some stuff in real time or answer any questions if you guys would like. I just wanted to kind of give you guys an overview of some of the main things that I'm really, really pretty happy about, but I would love to jump on here and give it a test drive if you guys want, or I'll leave it up to
Jeff, because
Vice President.
Vice President. I didn't know what to call you since it was interim, so I didn't know. I got stumped. I was like, I don't want to call her Vice President because right now you're the president.
Oh, excuse me, acting president.
Acting president.
Yeah.
I've already used the website several times, and just as we are right here, I'm doing a bunch of stuff, so I'm good. But are you going to be doing a presentation in the External Relations Committee?
Absolutely, I can. One thing I want to touch on, I wrote here on my notes and kind of following up with what Francisco said about getting some of this information out. And that's kind of my vision too for what we do in the the Legal Affairs Committee. I want to put out some of these things that we are faced with, that our industry is faced with, that, water districts are faced with, special districts, all that. And what we present there, I'd like to have a nice spot on our website that talks about that, and even what Damon was mentioning about on the ops page, some of the different, to bring that awareness, to show and to communicate some of these items that we're facing. I think it's really beneficial, so I want to use this tool. This to me is this tool that we can use not just for a depository for all of our, financials, but it can be educational too. I would love the water resource section would be somewhere where maybe a high school student comes to learn about the watersheds of Calaveras County and finds out information about our reservoirs, finds out about water rights and headwater health. And so I really, that's my vision for this website, is it's more than just a water district website. I think as we build it, it can turn into something like that. I really do.
I'd like to suggest that maybe you look into making sure that it's mobile friendly. Whether it's an app is what's needed or there's something that you already have that makes it mobile friendly. It didn't look too bad when I was doing it right now. And I was trying to sit down and get the agenda package up. And so it wasn't like on my computer at home, I like can go right there, maybe because my screen's really big, I don't know. But it took me a little bit to where I actually had to search for it. I couldn't see it in using my mobile phone. I found it ultimately, but I'm wondering if that was because I'm on a mobile
Well,
type
I did,
platform instead of.
Scott just signed me up on my,
Yeah.
on my mobile.
Yeah, just check into it and
Yeah.
see if there's something that we can make it better, or you may already have it included in there and it's just condensed and we just gotta, navigate a little bit differently perhaps.
Yeah.
But I think it looks great.
It mirrors what you're gonna see on the desktop pretty well. Of course, it's a completely different format, but so far I'm pretty pleased with it. And, there's a lot of information on there, and anything you guys see, I'm open to suggestions, no matter big or small. That's how we're gonna make this thing better. So if you notice something that
I've just
might-
pulled it up on the mobile, the board meetings right on the landing page.
Oh, well, then maybe mine was just taking a long time.
It's
to
all the way down at
download
the
to
bottom.
get me
It's,
everything.
it's a great landing page that has everything on it. Just keeps you.
Do you have Verizon or AT&T?
Verizon.
Well, that's.
Yeah,
fine.
and
Mine just wasn't loading. I have
Oh.
AT&T and it's one of the
we
worst.
revamped the board section too. We updated some of the maps. Director Cicada, we do need a bio for you to add to the website. So that's your to-do list. I need a
Thank you.
little bit background on you, please.
Okay.
There's a really nice section for water use efficiency. We didn't call it water conservation. We called it water use efficiency. As we've reported before, that's another regulation that's coming down the pipe. So I would love you guys to take a look at that. I've given a lot of tips for how you can save water around the house. There's some really fun videos. I also encourage you to take a look at the My Meter section. It's going to be under My Meter, and I've got all the documentation for every meter that our customers might have, since we have 3 different meters out in the system. So I've got spec sheets on every one of those meters, plus tutorials on each one of those meters on how to read it. We also have that video that we did quite a while ago about the 5-gallon bucket test. If someone wants to learn how to calibrate a very highly efficient meter with a antiquated 5-gallon bucket, they can. But it's all on there, and so I really am encouraging you guys to take some time and explore it. And
Yeah, I found the meeting, so it's at the very end.
Right.
Yeah, but mine probably hadn't loaded,
Okay.
so.
and
Oh,
one really thing on that too, really, if I may, there's going to be a new design suite coming out soon that's still in development, and one of the biggest improvements will be the calendar. I've been told they're really going to work on making the calendar better. So right now the calendar, if you look, I'm not too fond of the
In
format
here?
for it. It kind of stretches
Oh,
things
I
out.
see.
However, the calendar should be improved in the next maybe 3 months.
I gotta go to Verizon.
To be printed out. Do you print it out?
Okay.
and Scan it?
I just, of course, each one of the directors is going to be going out there and, saying you have to hear Kelly, with the latest presentation on our website. How long do you think we should schedule you for in our various meetings we go to?
Gotta ask his agent at this point.
Yeah, I mean,
Jeff, how long do you think?
I know you're acting president, but you do have to go through my agent. That's an interesting question. I would imagine it depends on the topic but
Well,
We'll
if
be covering.
we want an overview of, CCWD's website, what would you say? What do we throw out there?
30 minutes, 20,
30 minutes?
Yeah.
And you'll be prepared.
Yeah, like I said, I'm ready to test drive this thing right now, but I know we've been going on for a while and I can see Director Amos shake his head, so. But we've got the thing locked and loaded. I can take it for a spin if you guys like.
I'm good.
I'm good.
If
Yeah.
we're gonna see it in external relations, we can
Yeah.
dive
Yeah.
into it
Thank
there
you.
if you want.
Thank you, Kelly,
And
but
I do want to thank the board for
Jeff's
supporting
chomping at
this.
the bit.
So I've been so
Maybe
impressed
stay
with
there.
everything you've done since the 2 of you started working on the website. It looks great. Now this new one's gonna be even better.
I really think so.
no, and
Yeah. The whole time I've been here.
thinking about my time here with CCWD, Kelly, I am just entirely thrilled with, how you've um, you know, gone into this role as public outreach, or what's your title?
It's the same, it's almost the same title as a committee meeting, so I always get confused.
External
It's
Relations
External Affairs
Manager.
Manager.
External Affairs Manager. You've taken it to a whole new level, Kelly, and I am so proud of you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a
Thank
new
you.
position, so it is not.
Well,
Well, you've run with it, done a great job.
and I have to take, again, I
Proud.
want to also thank Damon and his crew, going through that fire. I was ready to put out some more outreach of what, maybe we did have a tank that was going to go down, but they did such a good job. We didn't have to, we put out a conservation. And again, I mean that I was so stoked that Damon took the time to do that interview, because I think that was really impactful and it really humanized the event rather than just a bunch of words or a notice. So I really thank Damon.
Well-
But again, what those guys did,
I know.
and the fact that we didn't have to do significant outreach is really amazing. It really, really is. And again, power was out. We never lost water service. And
Yeah,
that's
amazing.
huge.
Thanks, everybody.
And
And you also do have some good drone flying skills, I believe.
I can't fly during those fires, so they'll.
Oh, they will.
arrest me.
well, yes, I do thank you, Kelly, and of course, you're supported by a great staff. That's all there is to it. The staff.
We
can't
have
be
great
beat.
staff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
can't be beat.
and same thing the other night, I forget what time it was, maybe 9 o'clock at night, I got a call from Pat. We had a significant leak up in the Big Trees Village area. He let me know, he gave me all the information. We utilized the website to have that mark, that red banner. The guys did a great job. Heck of a leak. I got real-time video from it, so I was able to throw that on the Facebook page too, of watching those guys dig in the mud.
Where was it?
On Shastan and Dardanelle Vista, was a mainline leak, 6-inch AC, big old root, the classic underground forests that we contend with.
Okay, we certainly appreciate it, and you'll be invited back, I'm sure.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, on to the next board meeting. Oh, excuse me, public comment. Excuse me, public
Yes, thank
comment.
you. Yes, ma'am. I wanted to also thank Kelly for an excellent job. And I look forward to his integration of the various other business functions that he alluded to that he wants to make the streamline the hub of, as it was described in the initial presentation. And if I could influence his choice of pictures in the early phase, I would encourage the focus on the infrastructure so people become more familiarized with what they're buying and what they're investing in and what provides them the nice, clean, quality water and takes their poop away. Thank you.
Nice.
Okay, thank you. And Ralph, one more time.
I must say, I mean, scrolling on the cover, I was able to name all the material except for one. Oh, excuse me, on the thing, I was able to name all the material except one, and that was in the treatment plant. Water running over it. But anyway, I thought I was pretty proud about that. And the faucet, we're not sure if it was regular or electric, so we'll figure that one out. All right.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ralph. Okay, our next board meetings, Wednesday, July the 10th, a regular meeting, and July the
Berkeley,
20th.
we still have, I don't know if our general manager is gonna give a report, but we still have board reports, and then we have a closed session.
Yeah.
Oh, did I skip board report?
Yeah, number 7, board reports.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. No, I encourage that kind of behavior.
Okay, so because we don't have a general manager, we'll skip item 6 and go on to 7, board reports. Cindy.
Yes, all I want to do is thank Damon for all the and Michael too. I mean, all staff for sure, but the emails keeping us informed on what was going on, and all staff, you're amazing. And thank you very, very, very much. That's it.
Jeff?
I have nothing.
I have nothing to report.
Oh, wow.
What about what
Oh, yes, I do. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
On behalf of
What's his name?
President Thomas, we did
Thomas
have
is?
a real estate ad hoc committee meeting yesterday. we got several pieces of property on our radar. And our meeting yesterday was down at Jenny Lynn. We looked at the home next door, riverfront property, a nice three bedroom, 1 bath house that has been vacant since 2018. We used to have it as a rental for, remember, 4 or 5 years back.
CCWD owns.
CCWD owns the house right next to our water treatment plant, right next to the training facility at that water treatment plant on, what road? Silver Rapids. Yeah, so anyway, we did look at that. Russ and I made recommendations for that property. We're also looking at the 55 acres in Valley Springs. We got ideas for that. We got property up here on top of the hill that we originally purchased. It's on Angels Road, right by the old airport. We had bought that to build this facility and found out that wasn't going to work. We still own that 15 acres. And then there's another 5 or 10 acres, or no, I think it's 30 acres up. So it's a chunk of property near our wastewater facility in West Point. And so and then another property in Copperopolis. We've discussed all of these with staff at 2 or 3 different meetings now, I think 3. And we got some recommendations. We asked Damon to put together a summary of what we were going to report out. So, but just wanted to let you know that we're moving along. We have ideas we're going to report out in July, sometime. There's not, we didn't put a time frame, an exact time frame on it, but when Damon could put that together, it's just ideas at this point. We'd like to float them for the board before we have suggestions and recommendations for the board. It'll be an agendized item sometime in July. Most likely.
Thank you.
That's all I have to report.
Okay, I really, we're ready for anything that happens up in Ebbets Pass. Working very closely with the fire department, and they are prime. They are prime in Ebbets Pass. And that's all I have. Next board meeting, July the 10th and the 24th. And because of a lack of a general manager, we don't have closed session.
Wait, are we still doing our closed session with Matt?
No.
No?
I didn't think so.
Right.
Okay.
It's canceled.
I didn't mean to slide you, Matt.
No, that's all right.
Okay. No reportable action. So item 11, adjournment. Thank you. Thank you.
Loading her up.
Promoted.